Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday live. My headphones sorted out. So welcome to another Sunday live where we do a 20-question mock test. Answer your questions live and direct, any issues that you may have, even about the driving test as well. And I'll do a hazard perception demo towards the end of the session because some of you are still struggling with the hazard perception. So let me get my windows up just to make sure. Just turn that down. Right, let's get this window up. So hopefully you guys had a good weekend so far, enjoying the weather while it lasts. Right, so let's take a look to see who's here. Naomi, I've not seen your name before, so welcome to you. I'm assuming you're new or a silent watcher, but welcome anyway. Let's go to this one because it's better. Please, I want to book for a private class. I don't do private classes. I do a boot camp. If you're talking about the theory side of it anyway. I do a boot camp, which is over 5 days, Monday to Friday, in 1 week. By the time you finish the course, you should be ready to take your theory test. And you have 28 days access to extra training. You have access until you pass, but it's 28 days at a time. And you have email support as well, plus extra training material, which is on the training platform. But in terms of the theory side of it, I don't do private classes. And if you're talking about driving lessons, I do intensive courses, which I do on a weekly basis. But that is fully booked up for now as well. Marjorie, good morning to you. I've not seen your name before or avatar. So again, welcome. We have a silent watcher or new, but welcome. Khalid. Well done to you. Passed your theory test, 43 out of 50 just, but I'll take a pass. 54 out of 75. Off for 2 weeks for now. We'll start my driving lessons. Thank you. Brilliant. Yeah, take a break. You deserve it. You passed the theory test. Take a break and then go into your driving lessons nice and refresh. Enjoy your 2 weeks off, especially if you're going away. But congratulations on passing. Let me know what your next steps are. I know you say you're taking driving lessons, but have you got driving experience? And are you looking to take a driving test anytime soon? Or do you need to get up to scratch first? Deanne, I'm so happy you're live. I watch your videos and use your techniques. I passed my theory test yesterday. God bless you. First of all, congratulations on passing. I've not seen your name before, so I appreciate you coming to the live session and let me know that you've passed, because it does help that I know you guys are passing. I do go through the comments on YouTube. But it's nice to know that you guys are actually passing the theory test as well. So congratulations to you. And let me know what your next steps are. Are you looking to take driving lessons or driving test? Fun learning. I've not seen your name before, so welcome to you. Good morning. I'm new to your platform. Glad you found it first and foremost. There's lots of free stuff on the YouTube channel, videos. I am starting to film again. I'm releasing videos every other couple of weeks. I'm doing a home study series, which is doing the up-to-date questions, and in each category, I believe, what went out on Wednesday? I think it was documents. I'm not 100% sure. I can't even remember because they're filmed in advance. But I got a motorway road signs coming out soon. So there's stuff on there, but like I said, I don't do private lessons, Naomi. I just ain't got the time to do it. But like I said, I do the boot camp, which runs every week. So if that's going to be helpful for you, then check the link in the description below this live session, and you can read up on it. Suave, cleared my theory test yesterday. Your videos helped me a lot. Well done to you for passing. Again, I've not seen your name before, so welcome first and foremost to the live sessions, and thank you for coming to the lives and letting me know that you passed your theory test. Prince, welcome. Lamye, Hopefully I'm saying that right. Good morning to you. Again, not seen your name before. Good morning. Happy Sunday. God bless you as well. Can't pronounce that, so I'm not going to attend, but good morning. I'm not seeing your name before, so I'm assuming you guys are new or very silent watchers, but welcome. Good morning to you. Passed your test on the 9th, so congratulations. 47 out of 50, 71 out of 75. Wow, that's high. Congratulations to you. Let me know what your next steps are. Driving lessons or looking to do driving lessons, driving test or driving lessons. Good morning. God continue to bless you. This is Kobe from Cardiff. Welcome. Techno, welcome. Esther, welcome. Aman, welcome. Marjorie, this is my 4th session with you. Not new, 4th session, okay. But I've not seen your name before, so you're either not typing your answers in or I'm missing it. One of the two, but you're welcome anyway, regardless of 4th, 5th, 1st session, welcome. But thanks for speaking out, sharing the comment in the comments. Belfast. Wow, I believe it's hard to get instructors anywhere anyways. It's not just Belfast. But I believe your driving test is slightly different. But I can't comment on that. But I believe your driving test is slightly different in Belfast. But yeah, it's hard to get driving instructors, especially this time of year, because the students are now doing their exams. So they're looking to book driving tests. So book driving lessons. The unis are breaking up soon. They're going to be looking to do driving lessons before they go back to uni in September/October. So it's going to get even busier. So for those of you that are looking to take driving lessons over the summer, I would try to find your instructor now and lock them in because it's going to get busy. Infinity, welcome to you. Yeah, I am blessed, very blessed. And my weekend has been great so far. Right, let me do an overview quickly and then we do these 20 questions. Are you taking lessons? Need to find a date for my drive. Yeah, same for everybody over the country. And there's no magic tool anymore. The only thing I will suggest, I will still say it because everyone's still doing it. You never know, you may be lucky than most. On Monday morning at 6 a.m, the DVSA release new dates every week. So I would get up about, be online for about 10 to 6, 5 to 6. So when they go live at 6 a.m, you may be able to snap something up in your area. You may have to do it 3 or 4 Mondays. But like I said, you may get lucky and do it sooner rather than later. But that's an option. Other than that, it's just jumping online 24/7 a day. Just keep refreshing. Hopefully something comes up. Nothing Sats. Good morning. I'm new here, but came across your videos. You're new, so welcome to you because you're new. And having my fair on the 23rd, which is this week coming, because my guys have got their tests on the 21st, Friday. Yeah, it's got the same day as my guys this week, boot camp, 5 o'clock. They've got theirs on Friday. So I wish you luck with that. Please come back next Sunday. Let us know how you got on. So I'm just reading Infinity's comment. It was docs. Yeah, please come back next Sunday. Let us know how you got on. All right, let me do a quickly overview. Yeah, sorry, the videos are filmed in advance. So I can't remember what goes out because literally it's just uploaded in advance. And then it just goes out when YouTube gets to the date. But I believe the next one coming out, not this Wednesday, the week Wednesday after, should be road signs. I believe. Anyway, I don't know why I come out of that. I'm going blank. I'm looking for my screen share. Hold on 1 second. Multiple choice. Right, let me get rid of this. Right, so for those of you that are new to the theory test, because I don't assume that you guys know how the theory test works. It's funny because not last week, the week before, I had someone who signed up for the boot camp, totally new, didn't know how it worked, how many questions. So like I said, I don't assume that you guys know how it works. So it's multiple choice, it's 50 questions. And the questions are taken from 14 different categories if you guys didn't know. You can do the categories individually. Headphones are just showing. On the app, or you can do mock tests. My advice is do the categories one by one, because as I said, the 50 questions is drawn from the 14 categories. I will say this because again, I'm still getting people coming in, even in the boot camp, who's taken tests before, failed it, hence why they signed up for the boot camp. When I went for the test, the questions were different. Yes, they're going to be different from the app. Regardless of what app you use, the apps are sampled questions. I'm going to say it again. The apps are sampled questions. They're not the real questions. It's just a general overview of what the questions could be like on the test. On the apps, I believe it's more. I can't remember what number it is now because they've got the new questions in there. The new ADAS questions. So it's over 700 plus questions now in the app. On the database that they've got for the real test, it's between 1,200 to 1,500 questions they've got to choose from. So when you go for the real test, there's going to be questions that's worded differently, and it's going to be questions that you've never seen before, but it all still lead to the same outcome, which is safety, which I'll explain later on. If there's 10 of you in the room taking the test at the same time, it's 10 different tests. The tests aren't the same, it's random. So the questions are random, so you have no idea what amount of questions you're going to get from different categories. That's why I keep saying study the categories individually so your knowledge is strong across the board. So regardless of what category they give you, you have a better chance of passing. Because if you're just, again, because I was talking about road signs, let's just say your road signs was weak as a category, but you got 5 questions from road signs. That's a possible 5 questions you can get wrong. Now you're struggling to pass the theory test already before you get going. You have 57 minutes to take the test. No one really takes 57 minutes unless you've got a learning disability. If you studied, that is, because you're going to recognize some questions that you've seen before. But if you have to take 57 minutes and pass, then take 57 minutes. It makes no sense taking 20 minutes and rushing it and failing when you can take 57 minutes and pass it. Once you've done the 50 questions, you move. So you need 43 out of 50. I didn't mention that, but you need 43 out of 50 to pass that. Once you've done that, you move on to the hazard perception, which is 14 videos. 13 of them have single hazard where you can score a maximum of 5. One of them's got a double where you score 2 5s, i.e. 10 in total. You have to average 3 across the board. And as you can see on screen, you need a minimum of 44 out of 75 to pass that. But if your average is below 3, then it's going to be a first impossible to pass with an average below 3. What you're looking for as an answer is safety. Regardless of what question, how it's worded, you're looking for a safe outcome. The theory test is black and white. It's either safe or it isn't. There's no gray areas whatsoever. So the answer always leads to safety. On your driving test, there's going to be gray areas because it's real life. You have to turn that gray area for the examiner into safety. That's the difference between the driving test and the theory test. And if it doesn't lead to a safe outcome, then you're looking for a controlled outcome, which is normally your first aid questions and your motorway questions like hard shoulder and stuff like that. So that's the overview of the theory test. So let me just catch up with you guys in here before we go any further. I do driving lessons, but I do it as intensive. My pupils do Monday to Friday. And we drive for 4 hours a day, which is 20 hours in the week. And then they do the boot camp with me as well. So they do the theory tests in the week and they're driving. So on Friday, like I said, my pupil, I won't mention his name, will be doing his driving and his boot camp theory. So hopefully Friday when he takes his test at 5 p.m, he passes that. And then he can book his driving test straight afterwards. And then when he gets his date, he's technically good to go. So that's how I work it. It's intensive. I don't do hourly lessons like normal instructors. Selena, good morning to you. Right, let me start this 20 question mock test. I'll still go through your comments. If you guys got any questions, please put a Q semicolon. It makes it a lot easier for me to find. Otherwise, it looks like a comment. Oh, I wish you luck tomorrow. With that, if you've got any questions, Now's the time to type it in Q semicolon arcs away. Let me send you in that test tomorrow, nice and confident. But please come back next week and let us know how you got on. Marcel, good morning to you. Arshad, I've again not seen your name before, so I've got to say you're a first timer. Welcome. I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Sarah, good morning to you. Until Metra, thank you so much. I passed my test. All thanks to you and your videos. I passed on Thursday. I will forever subscribe to you. Appreciate that. And congratulations on passing. Again, please let me know what your steps are. Moving on to driving lessons or driving test. All right, so Adesanya, hopefully I said that right. Good morning to you again, not seen your name before. So welcome to you. That has been a while. How are you? Right, let's do the test first. Let me just scroll this up a little bit. And let me share my screen share. Right, so those of you that are new, I'll stop moving this around, it would help. Right, read the question first. And I suggest you do this on the theory test as well. Read, it sounds stupid, but believe it, a lot. Most people just skim read. This is a massive conversation we had on this week's bootcamp. Do not skim read the theory test. Read it from start to finish. So how can drivers help the environment? This is A, for those of you that are new. This is B. This is C. This is D. Please put the question number. So obviously question 1. And then if you think it's A, put 1A. There's a delay between me and YouTube, you and YouTube. I want to always make sure we're on the same page when we're going through this. If you do not put the question number, I cannot show your name up on screen because I don't know if it's related to the right one. And if you're taking the effort to type in, I do try to show your name. I know there's a lot of you, there's already 56 of you here, but I do try to show your name and give you the props for taking effort to type your comments in. But if you don't type the question number, I cannot show your name up on screen. Keep the questions coming, keep the comments coming. I'm trying to keep up track with it, but if you do a Q semicolon, it makes it a lot easier for me to find as well. Okoro, good morning, Doran. I'm Southern Viewer. Passed my very test. First attempt, congratulations. No problem. Congratulations, first attempt as well. And you're a silent viewer, so thank you for breaking the silence and let me know that you have passed. Appreciate that. Richard, good morning. Arrow TV, good morning to you. How are you? Hopefully you had a good week. 45 out of 50, 52 out of 75. Well done to you. Brilliant. Next weekend. Oh, that's got to be exciting. You are going to be nervous. I will say that to you. You're always going to be nervous on your driving lesson, especially the first few. Hopefully you got a decent instructor. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's part of learning. The more mistakes you make, funny enough, the stronger you become, as long as your instructor can explain to you why you did it and make you feel calm about it. But yeah, hopefully you have a good lesson next week. Tijani, hopefully I'm saying that correct. I'm not butchering your name. This is a nice comment. And I think the app questions are more tricky and constructed hardly, while the main test looks more like a layman's language. Very simple, constructed, and hazard perception looks more realistic, slow. The hazard perception on the real test is all CGIs. On the apps, there's a combination of CGIs and real life clips. The real life clips are hard to spot the hazards, and it's not finely tuned or in time the way it should be. But the CGI ones are, but the hazard perception on the real tests are all CGIs, and it is based on the feedback we get from our students. They are slightly slower. For that, I agree with. In terms of the questions on the app, yeah, unless you know what they're exactly asking, because they don't put context behind some of the questions, if that makes sense. Yeah, it can be tricky. I'm not 100% sure about the layman's bit on the real test. I still think it's a bit similar to the app. It's not worded clearly, so some of the answers are open to interpretation. That's why I keep saying, if you watch my videos, understand the question. Because if you understand the question, then you know what they're asking for. If you don't understand the question, there's a possible two answers. It depends how your brain works. But that's a good comment to make in terms of the questions are tricky. They're not trying to trick you. The questions are tricky if you don't understand them. Emmanuel, how are you? I am, trust me, I'm doing great at this precise moment. Nada, good morning to you. Precious, good morning to you. Diana just got I'm. Right. Here's the first one. I'm meant to come through 1B. Right, let me catch up with these. Am I driving still? Driving training still. How are you getting on with that? From memory, I think you was changing, or maybe it's a different Diana. Just trying to remember, you changed from Sidcup to Belvedere, or am I thinking of somebody else? You guys are split on this. I'll see B's and C's. C's the common answer, but I saw quite a few B's on there. Right, interesting. C's and B's. Right, how can drivers help the environment? What's B? That doesn't exist anymore by using leaded fuel. It's unleaded fuel that you would be using. That doesn't exist, so it can't be B. Accelerating gently is the correct answer. When they say accelerating gently, obviously not racing the gas pedal and using the right gears for the right speed gently. That's what they're talking about with that. That's what I said about understanding the question. Accelerating gently. What should you do when you're approaching traffic lights that have been green for some time? Vivian, got your test tomorrow. Well, let me wish you luck for that tomorrow. While you are here, if you've got any questions, type in the chat. But please, put a Q semicolon. So I'm just reading someone's comments. Put a Q semicolon so I can find it a lot easier. I've done it from the boot camp. Okay, forum. Yeah, I must be thinking of someone else. But how are you getting on with the driving side of it anyway? From me, good morning to you. Vivian, already spoken to you, but good morning anyway. I'm going backwards now in the comments. Yolanda, you're welcome. Congratulations on passing, by the way. Selena sent you another email. Don't asking if we can chat. Did you put in the email what we should talk about? I think I responded to you because you said you got. Again, this is from Mary because I've got so many emails. The team passed this one to me that you booked another theory test in June, I believe, and life's getting in the way. And I think I'll send you to study at least 20 to 30 minutes a day if possible. I think that's what I responded to, but like I said, there's so many emails that I've got to respond to. If you just put in here, Selena, as what you want to talk about briefly, and then I've got an idea what I can try to schedule it in. Wow, you're on the live before a driving lesson. That's dedication for you. Hopefully the lesson goes really well. On a Sunday midday. Hopefully it's not busy where you are on a Sunday. Or a Premier Boot Camp. For some reason, Emmanuel, I thought you had done your theory test. Like I said, so many of you are trying to keep track of all the names and whatever. For some reason, I thought you already done your theory test. But good luck with it when it comes. Right, the majority of you have gone for D, but I did see, let me just double check that. I did see a couple of C's in here as well, 2C. But most of you have gone for D. Josh has got to be ready to stop, whatever that was. I'm assuming that's related to the question or the answer, should I say. Yo, miss, good morning to you. All right, so D is the common answer. Yeah, be ready to stop. Because it may change. That's the reason why the answer is what it is. Someone went for B. It's never going to be brake hard. If it's got hard in accelerate hard, brake hard, it's never going to be the right answer. Get rid of those straight away. How far are you allowed to reverse? Deborah, good morning. Passed my theory test last Monday, 44 and 65. 65 is a high score. Well done to you. I'm glad the videos helped you and the streams helped you. Thank you for coming to the live and let me know how you got on. Again, if you're still here, let me know what your next steps are. Mimi's channel, how do I register the 5-day bootcamp? The link is in the description. It gives you an overview on that, and just choose the Monday that you're free or the week that you're free, and then sign up for it. On Saturday morning, you'll get a welcome email with the link to join the live sessions. If you can't join the sessions, then the replay is available for you, because every session is recorded, so you can watch it back and pick up any bits and pieces on that. But like I said, you've got extra training material in there. It's not just a 5-day bootcamp. There's a lot more training material in the bootcamp, and you have email support to ask any questions at any point. Everybody struggles with reversing to a point. The question is just what you're struggling with, whether it's speed, which way to turn the wheel. But with reversing, the way that I teach this is just take your time, stop. What I say to my people, stop, think, breathe. With the reversing on your driving test, there's no time limit, so you're not in a rush to do it. The biggest reasons why people struggle with the reversing, they feel they've got to do it because they see people do it in one go, just literally jumping, boom, and get it over and done with. On the driving lesson or driving test, you don't need to do it in one go. You can go forwards to correct, but I would suggest you take your time. As like I said, when I do it with my pupils, I get them to stop, think, breathe, stop, think, breathe. So we break it down in small, manageable chunks. So they've got time to think while the car is stationary. So that's the easiest way of doing it. It's just, if you struggle, just stop, think about what you need to do, and then go off and do it. Stop. Once you've done it, think, breathe. Sorry, I'm asking this question for a friend. She already for a year. Wow, she got 6 points on license in the first year and a bit. That's a very good question. It's a shame. If she got 6 points, why is it not revoked already? I'm not gonna say I know the answer to that, but what I would suggest her do, because I don't understand it. She's got 6 points on the license and it's not revoked already. Because normally when you get the 6 points, it's taken away from you straight away. Or wait until the license is revoked because she doesn't know how. There's two options. One, no, she can't apply now because if it's going to be revoked, she won't have a license, so she got to reapply for the new license. Based on that, sorry, I'm just trying because this is wow. I don't think she can apply to do a theory test because the license is going to be revoked, which means she hasn't got a license technically. So she's going to have to reapply for the provisional, get it back as clean, second time round, and then she can redo the theory test. I would study now while she's waiting for that, but I think the best option would be to contact the DVSA and speak to them, say, look, this is the situation, and get it from the horse's mouth. Because I'm not sure why she's got 6 points on the license and it's not already been taken away. It's like she's got 6 points, but she's waiting for it to be revoked. I don't understand why. So maybe just clarify that she has got 6 points, because sometimes they could change it to 5 points, which means she's still under the limit and she's still got a license. So I would speak to the horse itself, i.e. the DVSA, ring them up or email them and explain what the situation is. That's the best option. But if the license is going to be revoked, technically she can't apply for another theory test because she hasn't got a license. So I hope that helps. Wow, Simply Me, good morning to you. All right, let's do this 3B. And to be fair, that's a shame because with driving for a year and picking up 6 points, she probably got bad habits. So she got to do the theory test again. And I would suggest 3B, but in test 3D. Let me start that and come back to it because I don't know what the question is. She's going to have bad habits, so I would still suggest that she take a few driving lessons just to make sure driving's on point. But with her getting points on the license, that suggests she's doing something wrong. So yeah, and with the waiting time again, it's a silly thing to do, to be honest. A silly thing to do to lose your license like that. Unless it was one offence and that was a phone offence, because obviously if she got caught using a phone, then it is 6 points straight away with that one. Common answer is 3B. Let's just finish these ones off. You guys are typing really quick. Right, 3B seems to be the answer. Hello, reverse. 3B. No further than necessary is correct. There's a comment here from Simply Me. Let me find it. 3B, but in test 3D. 3D number than car's lengths. No, that's right. The question says how far are you allowed to reverse? That's a theory test question, no further than necessary. So reverse what is required for you to do whatever it is that you need to do in a minimum amount of time. No more than a car's length. That's a you're talking about the reverse on the right. Which is reverse back at least 2 car lengths. That's your maneuver for parking on the right. Reverse back at least 2 car lengths. So that's not kind of correct in terms of what you're saying with that. But yeah, the answer for this one is 3B, not further than necessary. How should you use the lanes on the motorway? All right, okay. So it must have been just me just thinking, because I know there's quite a few manuals on there. I thought it was you that would have passed your ferry test. I will say, you said I'm going to book it, so I'll be booking the ferry test soon for next month. I'm assuming you mean June. If I was you, especially if you got time today, jump online and just take a look, because like I said before about the driving lessons, the dates are getting booked up, so you may not have any dates in your area for next month. And if you have, I would book it as soon as possible. There's nothing wrong with looking now over the next couple of days. If you have got dates in June, if that's what you want to take it in, just book it and claim it. If you can't do it for whatever reason, you don't feel like you're ready, you can just push it back, as long as it's before the cancellation date, which is 3 working days. But I wouldn't wait till next month to look to take your test and book it next month, because like I said, the waiting times in test centers are now few and far between in terms of the theory side of it. So I'll just double check to make sure you've got that availability. That's correct. I want to discuss me going over the tougher subjects to sharpen my knowledge, as I keep picking the wrong answers. That should know from boot camp. Yeah, that's correct, because you're picking the wrong answers, considering we covered it in boot camp. And I think I put a couple of you didn't get back to me. That's right. And now it's jogging my memory. Yes, I said to you, because you took the test, blah blah blah. Are you reading the questions from start to finish? How long did it take you to take the test? Are you rushing the test? Because just because you're picking the wrong answers doesn't mean to say you don't know what the answer is. There's an underlying reason why you're picking the wrong answer, especially because we covered it in the boot camp. So normally it's because you're rushing, didn't read the question and answers carefully, or like I said, skim reading basically. So that's the reasons why. But yeah, I'll try and arrange something for next week, because I've got a massive boot camp next week. I think it's 11 people in there. So I'll try and do something for next week. I'll tell you what you can do in the meantime is jump on the Ferry Test Pro, because I think you're still registered with that. Do a 50 question mock test in there at some point, and then email me to say that you've done it, and then I can check it, and it gives me data to talk to you about as well. Fresh data, because obviously I'm assuming you studied since the last test, which means we can see exactly where you're at now, see if you're still in the same place. So I would do that first, do a mock test at some point, email me, and then we'll arrange a time to talk, and it gives me the data, and I can talk through the data while I'm on the phone with you. Right, so let me catch up with these. What are we on 4? Sorry, hold on 1 second, trying to find the 4. Someone's got Naomi's gone for C. I got to assume D's correct because the majority has gone for D. Right, D's common answer. How should you use a lane? Stay left. Keep to the left-hand lane unless you're overtaking you. Everybody stays left when possible. What type of vehicle uses an amber flashing beacon on a dual carriageway? Okay, so hopefully you'll have a good lesson. It's turning the wheel. Do you mean which way to turn the wheel when you're reversing? Because if it's that, I can give you a simple tip with that. Struggling between deciding on manual or automatic driving lesson, as manual driving looks like a whole lot of techniques. First of all, you're assuming that's how driving techniques, because you're based on your question. You says I'm struggling between deciding on manual or automatic. Driving lessons as manual driving lessons as manual driving looks like a whole lot of techniques. So that suggests you haven't tried it. Just because it looks like it doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm biased. I teach manual, and if anyone comes to me, unless they've got a disability, I'm always going to suggest manual. The reason being, you're learning a manual, you can drive both. Once you pass your driving test, you can do automatic and manual, which means you've got choices. When you're with automatic, you're stuck with automatic. And again, it would depend on what age you are. Because if you're young or younger, I would suggest going down the manual route, because again, you've got all your life in front of you. You don't know what's going to happen there. But if you're older, then automatic, you're pretty much going to stay with automatic. Usually an older student stays with automatic. But if you're really struggling with it, try both. A manual, if you've got a decent instructor, manuals are pretty easy once they explain it to you. But don't just look at it and assume that it's difficult. Diddy, good morning, Mr. D. Everyone calls this Mr. That's my dad. Silent viewer. I passed my test, 47 out of 50, 56 out of 75. Congratulations on passing. If you're still here, Diddy, let me know what your next steps are. Ashley, I want to thank you for your support. Get another pass. Well done to you. 40 out of 50. Missed 50 by 2. 57.75. Your study with me videos were a big help. I'm glad there was a help. Congratulations on passing. Thank you for coming to let me know. It doesn't help, unfortunately. It hasn't been revoked, as she heard it's going to be revoked when it's 12 points. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't help, unfortunately. It hasn't been revoked, as she heard it's going to be revoked when it's 12 points. When did she... Right, let me quickly explain this, because this doesn't make sense. That's why I'm struggling with this. Because you said your friends... I can't find the original comment, but you said your friend had the license for a year and a bit and got 6 points on the license. If she passed her test less than 2 years ago, 6 points, it should be revoked. If you're talking about 12 points and she's been told... hasn't been revoked, she heard it's going to be revoked when it's 12 points. That suggests that she's had the license... She's been driving more than 2 years. If she's passed the 2-year probation, she's got 12 points to get to before it's revoked, which means she's good at the moment. So let me just repeat that. If she had a license less than 2 years, 6 points, it should be revoked. That's why I can't understand why she still got it. If she's had a driving license more than 2 years, so she passed the test more than 2 years ago, she's fine with 6 points. She doesn't need to rewrite it. It won't let her do it anyway, because she's not on the system. So if she's passed her test more than 2 years ago, she's fine. The next phase is 12 points. So she's got another 6 points to play around with. Her insurance is going to be high because she's got 6 points. Each time you get points, the insurance is going to put you up, because nobody gets points for a good thing. You must have done something wrong, i.e. illegal, so the insurance is going to hit you for it. But if she gets to 12 points, that's even worse. So just ask her, when did she pass her driving test? 2 years or less, it should have been revoked. 2 years or more, then she's like what I call a normal driver, which is maximum 12 points. Answer that question first. If she's more than 2 years, she doesn't need to phone. She's fine. If she's less than 2 years, then yes, she does need to phone to find out, because there shouldn't be quite in 12 points to her if it's less than 2 years. Yeah, just double check. Don't wait to the point in time for you to book a test. Book it in advance and then work towards it. Right, what are we on? 5. I will stress, guys, when you get your license, you work so hard to get it, and the waiting time is long. Don't do anything stupid to get points on your license. It doesn't make sense. Good morning to you. Keep your nose clean, and you will. The more points you get, as I just mentioned, you are going to get higher insurance. Your insurance is going to be high anyway for first-time driver. You don't need to go up even higher because you're a risk. Good morning to you. Toxic gaming. Coventry, Midlands for July the 2nd. So that's not too far away. The only tips I would suggest is practice with an instructor. Go down to the test area. Hopefully you are from Coventry. Go down to the test area, drive around some of the test routes to get familiar with some tricky areas that may be in the test center. Practice what you preach. On your lessons, you should be driving the way you're going to drive on your driving test. So don't take chances, don't take risk. It's not worth it. And just take your time. With my students, if they're rushing, I'm saying you're rushing to fail. That's the biggest thing. Do not rush on your driving test. It's a route, it's timed already. So you doing it in 25 minutes ain't going to change anything other than your result to a fail. And just try to relax as much as you possibly can. But yeah, I would definitely hook up with a driving instructor if you haven't already. That would be the biggest thing. All right, so it looks like 5D is the common answer. Tom could use amber flashing, slow moving, Doctor green, fire engine blue, ambulance blue, tractor slow moving. Yes, it's going to be tractor. Why do motorcyclists often look round over their right shoulder just before turning right? Yes, the question was asking, why do they make you do the maneuver in the test if the safest thing is to reverse no further than needed? Right. Let me explain that. With the maneuver, parking on the right, because technically on the ferry, if you right, let me break it down simple chunks. Ferry test is black and white. So on the ferry test, it does say where should you park? It's on the left. You should always park on the left. The other question to that is, when can you legally park on the right? It's a one-way street because all the traffic's going in the same way. So if it's a two-way road, you should always park up on the left. Because of lack of space, especially in London, you get people parking on the right-hand side of a two-way road, which means they're facing oncoming traffic, but people don't know how to get out safely. That's why the maneuver was introduced. So if you've parked up in front of a car on the right-hand side, ideally you want to reverse back at least 2 car lengths so you can see beyond the car in front and see if the road's clear to come out. That's the reason why they're asking you to do that on the test. So it's necessary to be safe. That's why they're saying reverse back at least 2 car lengths, because it's necessary. So that's the answer to that question. If you're just reversing around the corner, you shouldn't be reversing a mile down the road to get to the corner. In other words, you should just find some other alternative arrangements to get around. So it's based on situations, not just one answer fits everything. It's based on situations. So hopefully I made that make sense. You can appeal decision or apply for a new license after this qualified period. Depends on reason for revocation or apply for a new license, but you have to retake both parts of a driving test. You can appeal as much as you want, unless, let's say it was a speeding one and there was a problem with the pictures. Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, if you the reason why you're on 2 years probation because they want you to behave yourself. If you haven't, they're not going to really allow you to. I won't say they're not going to allow you to appeal. They're not going to listen to your appeal. Don't get me wrong. Some people will appeal and the appeal gets withdrawn and they can keep their license. But the majority of the people, you made a mistake. That's why you're in that situation in the first place. They're going to take the license away from you because they don't want you on the road. And then you have to go back to the process. But again, what I said earlier on, you've worked hard to get your license. Don't lose it. You've got no one else to blame other than yourself if you get points on your license. So just don't lose it. Simple as that. I know things happen, but you've got to be careful. Yeah, you said to me in your email that you got stuff going on, but you have booked your test further away, so you got time. So to do the mock test when you can. If you're not ready for the test date that you have got booked, you've got to be honest with yourself and push it back. There's nothing wrong with that, but you did say to me life is in the way at the moment, so it's not an issue. 6. I don't know if you can learn too much, but thank you for the words. Oh, that's a 4D. I don't know why I put that on there. Again, most of you are going for the A, so yeah, if you live in Coventry, that's brilliant. Just trying to get an instructor to take you around the test area, get you familiar with some of the tricky points more than anything else. I'll tell you what he should do as well. Ask him to take you to the test center and try to watch a test go out. You'd be surprised by just sitting in if they've got a car park. I'm not sure if your one's got a car park. Just watching the test come out and the test come back, how nervous you get, because it gives you insight to how you're going to feel on the test. That's what I do with my students. I'll take them to the test center. We just sit there, watch a test go out, watch a test come back, and they get really nervous. And you times that by 10, that's how you're going to be, because nerves changes things. So if you get accustomed to how you're going to feel on the day, you got a head start before you even get going. Jamaica, hopefully I'm saying that correct. Good morning to you, first time here, so welcome. 6A is common. To check for there for some motorcyclists, it's called a lifesaver check for them. For you guys, it's a blind spot check. For you, for a motorcyclist, it's a lifesaver check. You're parked on a road at night. When must you use parking lights? So if you guys got any questions, please put in the comment as Q semicolon. I'm just going back through the comments just in case I've missed anything. Will 5 classes be good in? Sorry, it's just skips. Will 5 classes be good enough? I can't answer that. I don't know what driving experience you've got. Don't know what bad habits you've got. I don't know how you've been driving. I've got no idea. I'll be honest with you. If you're asking that question and you've got a test booked in July, that would suggest you booked it without an instructor's approval. So what I would do then in that case, I would definitely get an instructor, definitely before July the 2nd, and ask them if your test's ready. Because you asking 5 class would be good enough. That suggests, like I said, you've booked it without an instructor's approval. But I can't answer that. Without seeing someone drive, I can't answer how many classes they're going to need. And not only that, it's how this classes are structured. Because if I say, yeah, 5 classes is enough, then do you book 1 this week and then 4 before your driving test? Or do you have 1 every single week? So it also depends on how it's structured. If you're not taking driving lessons on a regular basis, your skill goes backwards. It doesn't go forwards. The worst case, it stays where it is. You should be taking driving lessons every week where possible. It's a skill. And if you don't use the skill, you lose it. Just out of interest, Diddy, if you don't mind, you don't have to if you don't want to, just let me know if you booked it without an instructor's approval. Just to see if I'm along the right lines. I pass. Thank you so much. Lewis, you're welcome. And thank you for coming to let me know you passed. Welcome, Lewis. 7B seems to be the common answer. You're passing the roads, right, when speed limit exceeds. Yeah, exceeds 30 miles an hour. In other words, 40 miles an hour or more. It's a faster road, so you leave parking lights on. So people know you're parked up because they're driving at a faster speed. You have stopped in an emergency area. What must you do before you rejoin the carriageway? And also, Diddy, if you're still here, if you've booked it without a driving instructor, I'm assuming that you have driving experience from somewhere as well. But like I said, if you don't mind sharing, Diddy, just let me know if you've booked it without the instructor approval. Oh, thanks for getting back. Right, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So you booked it without the instructor seeing you drive. Booked for an instructor. I've been driving for more than 20 years. Right, I'm not being funny, but that's possible 20 years of bad habits. I will be starting next month, one class every week. When you say one class, is that 1 hour a week or 2 hour session once a week? What if you was my people, if I was your instructor and I turned up, you got 20 years of driving, then what I would get you to do, yeah, if you was my student, 20 years of driving, I would turn up and get you to drive for about 20 minutes to half hour, get used to the car, get used to me so you're not so nervous, and assess your driving. And then what I would do is work with what the examiner will accept. So for example, my pupil last week, he was driving illegally. You won't mind me saying this because it's common knowledge. But I won't mention his name, but he was driving illegally for X amount of years until he got caught. So that's why I decided to do the training last week. And he had bad habits. One of them was crossing his hands on the steering wheel, but he was in control of the car doing it. So I didn't change that because the examiner will accept that. But what the examiner wouldn't accept, which is part of his driving, was checking his mirrors. He had no mirror checks, and he was in before the car comes to a stop. He put the gear stick or the gear into neutral. Those are the things the examiner wouldn't accept. So if you was my student, this is what you want to look for from your instructor. That's why I'm giving you a heads up. Because if your instructor tries to change everything, the chance of you passing on the second is going to be slim. So what he should be changing is the habits that the examiner will not accept. So like I said, with my student last week, Lee, what I did with him, I got him to improve his mirrors, leave the gear in gear until the car completely stopped. But the crossing of the hands, I did not change because the examiner will accept that for a driving test, providing the car was in control at all times, which he was. Because if I tried to change everything, bad habits, he would never have been ready after a week. And that's how they're going to confuse him. So yeah, there's certain things the examiner will accept, we leave alone. And there's things we'll have to change because the examiner won't accept it. So there's a little tip for you when you go with your instructor. If he's trying to change everything, you may want to have a conversation with him or change him or her. So hopefully that helps you out. But like I said, just because you've got, again, 20 years of driving experience, It doesn't mean that you can drive safely. That's the difference. Again, with my student last week, he'd been driving for years illegally, but to be fair to him, he was technically safe. He just didn't check his mirrors. So he didn't know there's a bike there turning left or turning right. Outside of that, his driving was pretty good. A was the answer. It's got an emergency in the question. It's got emergency in the answer. So there's a connection there. Sometimes there's clues in the question. You just have to be calm enough to break it down and go from there. As you approach a pelican crossing, the lights change to green. What should you do if older people are still crossing? Mac Colors Entertainment, not seen you before, so welcome. Pass your test. Congratulations on passing. 47 and 58 has a perception. Thank you for coming to the live and let me know. Diddy's got back to me as well. 1 hour. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Dubai's driving slightly different. I don't know how close you live to the test center. If your test is July the 2nd, we're 18th today. 4 weeks is 18th of June, 25th. So you got about 6 weeks, give or take, before your test. It depends how good your driving is, to be honest. If I was you, all right, fine, 1 hour a week. I would say minimum 2 weeks before your test. If you can double it up, go to the test center and drive around. Again, I'll tell you why. The driving test lasts for 40 minutes, give or take, on average flowing traffic. You really want to train yourself to be more mentally strong than an hour. And by doing a 2-hour lesson, it's going to train you to be mentally stronger for when you go for your driving test. Because, like I said, when you're on your driving test, you've got the examiner sitting there, you've got the nerves, and you're overthinking stuff. It does feel like a 2-hour drive on your driving test itself. So ideally, I would try to do 2 hours leading up to your driving test. It also gives you a chance to go down to the test center and drive around for a good length of time. That's what I would do. That's what I would recommend if I was your instructor. But again, I don't know how good your driving is on that. But at least you're doing the right thing, though. The main thing is you've got a driving test booked, you've got an instructor booked in, and you are going to take lessons every week. So you're along the right path. It's just trying to structure it in a manner that's going to give you the best possible chance of passing that driving test first time. So hopefully the advice I'm giving you helps you out. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. That's past 47 out of 50. Congratulations on passing. That must have you gone for A on this one. Don't let the older people fool you, because they may on the real test put younger people or people in general. If anybody's crossing and the lights are on the crossing itself and the lights are changing, you've got to wait patiently. It's never going to be anything else. But don't let the older people throw you off like I can wait for them, but anybody else I don't have to wait. What should you do when you move up from behind a parked car? Let me just deal with these. Vivian, please can you help me with motorway rules, highway code, and road signs? Not on the live, unless you got a particular question. On the live, motorway rules is one of the biggest sections on the theory test. And road signs, motorway rules and road signs, I believe is 133 questions the last time I filmed for a Study With Me series. It's 133 questions, so there's no way I'm going to be able to do it on a live unless you've got a particular question you want to ask. Highway Code is the book. When you say highway code, that's the book for every road user. So again, you've got to clarify what you mean by that. But yeah, there's no one going to help you with highway motorway rules and road signs on a live, unless it's a particular question. Because like I said, it's the biggest section on the theory test. 133 questions. Yes, it is. And this is why I would suggest, while you guys, again, because I've always said it in my videos as well, some of you have seen the theory test as a means to pass it, just to take a driving test. So you sort of just study it to pass it rather than study it to understand it. You are going to use some of this knowledge on your theory test. Before I do the hazard perception demonstration, I'll show you the driving test report sheet, and I'll show you the road and traffic signs box 17, I think it is. That's your theory test right there. You do need to understand this because you're going to be using that knowledge on your driving test. And if your knowledge is weak, then obviously your driving test is going to be weak. Not only that, what happens is, again, because sometimes on the intensive course that I do, students turn up, they already passed their theory test, and then I'm asking them questions, road signs, blah, blah, blah. They don't know the answer, which means we now got to park up. I've got to bring out the iPad and explain in detail. That's time wasted. When if you pass the theory test, the question is, why don't you know what a give way sign is? Why don't you know what a hazard line means? So it's time wasted. You don't want to be parked up at the side of the road to talk about stuff that you should already know because you passed the theory test. With my students, I just like to drive. Boom, let's learn, drive. But as a driving instructor, responsible driving instructor, if you don't know what road signs are, I have to pull up and talk to you and explain it so we don't make the same mistake twice. The reason why I was laughing with this, I used the international license to drive for some time in the UK. This is before I used to do intensive. I've been doing intensives for about 10 years when I started to get into the theory side of it. I turned up with students. This is when I've done hourly lessons, 2-hour lessons. I turned up, blah, blah, blah. Q&A, we call it Q&A. What driving experience you got? I've got driving experience from another country. I'm driving around on an international license. Some of the scariest moments I've had as a driving instructor is being from someone who's on the international license. That's why I was laughing. Just because you got international, I'm not saying this is you, by the way, but it just made me laugh that you got international license. I repeat, some of the scariest moments is not from students who've never driven before. It's from international licensed drivers. Because like I said, I'm not going to name countries because it's just wrong to do that. But because some of those countries have no rules, so they just drive crazy. And like I said, I've had some of my most scariest moments over the years as a driving instructor from international licensed drivers. So just because you got an international license, it doesn't mean to say you're a safe driver. But I repeat, I'm not saying you're not, but it means nothing for me personally. Someone says they've got international license now. If I was doing the individual lessons, hourly lessons, I would still be concerned. Yeah, some of my horror stories are international licensed drivers holders. Sorry, what are we on? 10. But at least I can live to still tell the tale. That's the most important thing. I just say thank God for dual controls. Right, most of you have gone for A. Some of you have gone for a B. B. All right, let's take a look. What should you do when you move off from behind? Blind spot check. Look around before moving off. Right, this is a prime example. The person went for B. This is why I said read the questions carefully. If you read the question, but let me break it down. What should you do when you move off from behind the parked vehicle. It's called a blind spot check, massive on the driving test, which is looking around before you move off. If you read B, look around after you move off. Very subtle. So if you're not careful, that's why you can go for B. So you have to read your answers very carefully. So before the car moves, that's why it's this one. This one you're already moving, so it's too late. That's why this is dangerous. What does this sign mean? I think the problem I have is how to position in the roundabout. I don't know if you mean roundabouts in general or on when you're on the roundabout. Basic, there's always exceptions to the rule, especially there may be in Coventry. The basic rule is for a roundabout, if you're turning left-hand lane, and if you're going straight ahead, left-hand lane, and if you're turning right, should be the right-hand lane. There are exceptions to the rule. That's the basic guidelines. So if you're going left and straight, it should be done from the left-hand lane, and if you're going to the right, it should be done from the right-hand lane, and then you could take it from there. But always start with the basics first and then expand out. I've been driving for 13 years in Ghana before. What must I do to get my driver's license here, please? Advice. Same as everybody else, theory test, and then a driving test. Doesn't change just because you've been driving for 13 years in a different country. It means nothing. So yeah, theory test first, which you're in the right place, right channel. And then once you've done that, you can take your driving test. Thank you for all you do. I attend your class on here and you really are a good teacher. Thank you for the kind words. I was able to pass my theory test. I'm now practicing for a practical. Congratulations, passing your theory test, and thank you for the kind words and coming and let me know. Appreciate that. How many hours a week do you recommend for a beginner to pass a drive? How many hours a week do you recommend for a beginner to pass a driving test? Again, I can't answer that. I don't know you. Everybody's different. Some people learn fast, some people learn slow. If you're a slow learner, you want to try and do weekly lessons. If you can learn quicker, you can try to do 3-4 hours in a week. Like I said, I do intensive courses, which is 20 hours over the week. But again, intensive courses is not for everybody because a lot of information coming thick and fast every day, every hour. So you have to find out what's suitable for you and your mentality, especially if you suffer from, because I'm getting a couple of emails from people, they suffer from anxiety and they find it stressful doing driving lessons. If you have anxiety, then you want to probably take it slower, maybe 1 hour a week rather than 2 hours at one time in a week. So you have to do what's personal to you. I can't answer that without knowing you or seeing you drive. But one thing I will suggest though is try to do weekly, whether it's 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. So it's consistent. Number 11. Sorry, Noah, I've just seen your question. I'm going to come to that in a minute. I just realized but there's no number. There's no letter after it. In terms of learning to drive and learning the theory side of it, that's an individual thing for people. I can't give you a blanket statement like study for the theory test an hour a day, for example. Some people can go for an hour, some people can't. So it's a person, you got to find out what's right for you. I just recommend how you should study, but it has to be structured as well in terms of what you're going to get out of it. Same thing with the driving lesson. The driving lesson has to be structured. If you can't just drive around for the sake of driving around, you've got to have a goal so you know if you're improving on it. 11A is humps in the road. This normally gets mixed up with B, hump bridge, and the humps in the road. Hump bridge will have a white bit in the middle, so it suggests you can go under as well as over. But this is humps in the road. What's the purpose of the yellow lines painted across the road? So talking about this, if it's got images on the theory test, I would suggest you read the question carefully, and then look at the image carefully, dissect it, as in take all the information and then go to your options. Don't just glance and then go to your options. Noah, how long can you use an international driver's license? A year. So it's a year. Sometimes you can go back to the country, renew your permit or whatever it happens to be, and they get an extension. But normally it's a year, so you got to pass the UK test within that year. Sanjeev, passed the exam. Congratulations on passing. Sorry. Thank you for coming. Let me know how you got on. Appreciate that. Adorables. Passed your test. 40 out of 50. Missed the 50 by 2. And 52 out of 75. Congratulations on passing again. Thank you for letting me know that you've passed. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to name countries. It'd be unfair for me to do that. But like I said, there's quite a few who drive around an international license, and scary, 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 scary. No problem. And again, I'm trying to help you guys out theory-wise and driving-wise, because get your license, be free, just have that freedom. Thank you so much. I passed my third test on Thursday. 46 out of 50, 63 high score. Well done. Congratulations on passing. Thank you for letting me know. Appreciate it. Oh, what are we on 12? Oops, sorry. You all gone for A. The bonus point. Does anybody know what it's called? Just type it in the chat if you know what the yellow lines are called. Because A is correct, to make you aware of your speed. But does anybody know what it's actually called? The yellow lines. Which app do you recognize for me to use? Thanks. So my brain's not recognizing that. I'm assuming you're asking me which app do I suggest that you use. If that's the case, it's Driving Test Success. I suggest you use Driving Test Success. I will go on record to say that I'm not saying it's the best app. It's the one that I use. So that's the one I would recommend. That's the one I recommend for the guys to use in the bootcamp, because it gets results. It's simple as that. It gets results for me, gets results for my students. So that's the reason why I would suggest it. Though I'm using this here is a desktop version of Driving Test Success, the 4-in-1 app. So I even use a desktop version to film my videos. You can use any app as long as you pay for it. Don't go for the free version, because obviously it's stripped back, and you're looking to pay $4.99. I believe the price is still $14.99. But if you're asking for my personal opinion, it is Driving Test Success. I'm not saying others are bad. I'm just saying that's the one I use that gets results. And Yolanda's call it Rumble. You missed the last bit on that, but I know what you mean. Selena's saying the same. It's called Rumble Strips. So congratulations to you guys who got A. These are painted slightly higher than the tarmac, just slightly higher. So when your car goes over, it rumbles, hence the name Rumble Strips. So obviously if your car's rumbling violently as you're going over, you're too fast. If it's a smooth rumble, then your speed's correct. On this situation, it's an approach to a roundabout. You're on a motorway. What does it mean when a mandatory speed limit is displayed above the hard shoulder? Okay, look at the image and then take it from there. Dammy Peter. First of all, welcome. I've not seen your name before. And passed your practical test as well. Well done. Congratulations. Now you are a driver. Wow. Well, first, thank you for coming to the channel and let me know that you've completed your journey. So well done to you. Where did you pass your test? Which area? What test center? Let me know. But you're a driver. Hopefully you can get a car and enjoy the sunshine while it's here. And I just realized what you said as well. Passed both first attempt. So that's massive. Well done. And that's what I'm talking about as well. As well as it is nice that you guys are passing the theory test, see it through, because before you know it, you think, yeah, I'll wait. Before you know it, the 2 years is up. Carlisle in Cumbria. Never been down them parts, but yeah, congratulations. And it's a nice part of the country as well. You can actually drive around in the countryside and see that greenery. Got that freedom for the summer. Well done. Congratulations. So proud of you. Yeah, like I said, it's see the journey through, because like I said, before you know, especially with the waiting times, the way it is, before you know it, that 2 years is up, you're back to square one, got another theory test before you can go on and take your driving test again. So don't sit on it. Unless it's a financial reason, because obviously if you can't afford the driving lesson, that's a different story. But if you can get your license, get it over and done with, even if you don't drive, at least your 2 years is still ticking. Your 2 years doesn't tick when you're driving, it ticks once you pass your driving test. So if you don't drive for 2 years, at least your 2 years is ticked. And when you jump behind the wheel, you're straight to 12 points. Right, most of the answers C, but Emmanuel's gone for a B. C, for hard shoulder can be used as a running lane. That's correct. What was B? You can pull up in this lane to answer. How's that safe? I'm assuming that's got to be a misclick, Emmanuel. You can pull up in this lane to answer a mobile phone. I'm sure you mistyped your answer in that, because that doesn't lead to safety in any shape or form. When will you feel the effects of engine braking? Okay, remember, if you guys got any last minute questions before we sign off, please type it in the chat, especially if you've got a test coming up over the next week. I figured it must have been, because there's, like I said, there's no way I'm going to be safe, but that's fine. It's not a problem. Just bringing your attention to it. Sorry, Diana, you didn't, I don't know if you did or I missed your comment. You didn't tell me, you said you're struggling with reversing, turning the wheel. Is that turning the wheel a particular way when you're reversing? You didn't get back to me. If you did, I missed your comment, sorry. So are you struggling to know which way to turn the wheel when you are reversing? And I'll give you a little tip for it if that's the case. Some of you have gone for D and a B. So we've got B's, C's, and D's on this one. D. That's a 13. See, that's the wrong one. Okay. When will you feel the effects of engine braking? Yeah, this comes up a lot in the boot camp, and especially for those that do automatic, they struggle with this because obviously automatic don't have gears. But it's never going to be B because you've got parking brake. Parking brakes are only used when the car is stationary, so it's not when the car's moving. When you change to a lower gear, it's going to be C. So you feel it injured because lower gears, gear 1 and 2, when they say lower gears, like I said, they don't always give you context behind the question. That's what I say, it's about understanding the question. So the question is, when will you feel the effects of engine braking? Braking is going slower. There's the clue. But like I said, if you don't understand that, you won't get the answer sometimes. So when you go to a lower gear in the manual, the car slows down. That's the engine braking. So first and second gear are low gears. They drive the car at slow speeds. That's why it's the answer here. And for those of you that went for D, when you change to a higher gear, it's a faster gear. Again, the clue is in the question, braking as in slowing down. High gears makes you go faster. That's the reason why it's not that answer. What does this sign mean? Right, struggling to know which way to turn the wheel when reversing. I thought that'd be, that's common. As long as you've got good clutch control. If you're doing manual, if you're doing automatic, then that should be easy enough because there's no clutch to worry about. Right, what you want, this is what I'm saying. When you do the maneuver, stop, think, breathe. Before you turn the wheel, you stop the car. And then you decide where you want the back of the car to go. You've got to look at the back of the car because that's the way you're going backwards. Whether you want it to go towards the curb, which is your left, or when you go away from the curb, which is your right. And then once you decide which way you want the back of the car to go, that's the way you turn the wheel. Because sometimes when you're doing reversing, everybody thinks it's in reverse. It's not. It's in the same direction as you do going forwards. I work on mindset. So you always try to put the brain in the familiar situation. Example, when you're going forwards at a giveaway line, for example, if I said to you, end of the road, turn left, you turn the wheel to the left. If I said to you, end of the road, turn right, going forward, you turn right. Put the brain in a familiar situation. So I repeat, when you're going backwards, you stop the car, you work out which way you want the back of the car to go, which is towards the curb. You're going to steer to the left because it's on your left. And if you want the car to go away from the curb, you steer to the right. But for it to work, you stop, you think, and you breathe. That's how you do it. That's why there's no rush on the maneuver on the day of a driving test. I'll just repeat that again for you and try it when you take your next lesson. Work out where you want the back of the car to go. So you stop the car, so it's not moving, no stress. Work out where you want the back of the car to go. If you want it to go towards the curb, it's on your left, you turn the wheel to the left. If you want it to go away from the curb to your right, you turn the wheel to the right. And the more times you do that, the easier it gets. All you've got to do now is work out how much to turn to the left, how much to turn to the right. That I can't give you because every instructor has a different technique. But I repeat, stop, think which way you want to turn the wheel, breathe, and then go off and do it. And if you do that, like I said, it gets easier and then it's less stress. Right, all of you have gone for C, which is obviously got to be the correct answer. 95% of red circles are no's. If you didn't know what the answer was, what you do on the real tests, because 95, like I said, 95% of red circles are no's. So all you do is go to the 4 options, get rid of the ones with no no's. So get rid of that one, get rid of that one. Now you're left with this one and you're left with this one. And it becomes obvious what it is after that because the 2 are totally different. So no overtaking. That's what you do, car side by side. So that's why it's C. For conditions are good and dry, when should you use the 2-second rule? When can you explain the effects of engine braking when driving automatic? It's automatic, so there's nothing to worry about. In a manual, you're doing all the work, i.e. using engine braking, changing gears, but in automatic, it's automatic. So when you come off the gas, it slows down because it changes the gears for you automatically. So if you're doing automatic, you don't need to worry about it. And it's not a question in the theory test either. For a automatic car, it's only engine braking for a manual. No problem, Diana. Like I said, the main things that you stop and think about what you're trying to do. Don't worry about the length of time. Because as you get better, it's going to become quicker and quicker anyway. But like I said, you have to take your baby steps first and then build up to where you want to be for a driving test. But like I said, take your time. Stop, think, breathe. Stop, think, breathe. Just don't feel pressure that you've got to be doing something. Because if you're not moving, you can't hit anything. Something should safe anyway. (16B) is common when checking the gap from the vehicle in front. 2-second gap is a safety gap. 2 seconds when it's dry, or if it's wet, it's 4 seconds or double. Ice and snow is up to 10 times longer. What does this signal from a police officer mean to oncoming traffic? Remember, if you've got any last minute questions, type it in. Especially if you've got a test coming up soon. Right, all of you gone for D. Flat palm or a flat backhand if you're coming from behind means stop. So technically it's a red light. Why could it be dangerous to keep the clutch down or select neutral for long periods of time while you're driving? There we go. So all of you have gone for A. Which clutch down is called coasting, which is a lack of control. Engine braking. You'll have less steering and braking control. Yep, that's the one. How will your journey be affected by traveling outside the busy times of the day? Call me Darren. Dorian's my name. I have a question. Do you live in Luton? Answers yes, I live in Luton. If so, will you be my driving instructor from June for 3 weeks as I am going to work there for a month? Yes, I live in Luton. Answers no, I can't be your instructor. I work in North London and I do intensive courses. So I don't do individual. I have one pupil for a week, Monday to Friday. So that's not possible. Sorry. 19. taking my first test on the 29th of May. The other one I got 5th. That doesn't make sense. I'll be taking my... I'm assuming that's third test on the 29th, because you said the other one I got 35 and 46. So I'm assuming you mean third test. 29th of May, which is next week, isn't it? Because guys, the 23rd, yeah, the week after next. So I wish you luck with that when the time comes. Oh, you guys are split. It's got C's and B's. The majority is C, so I've got to assume that's the correct answer, but some of you are still going for B. Calm Corn, good morning. There's a B there. Another B, B's and C's, right. How will your journey be affected by traveling outside the busy times? B's and C's. Your journey will take longer. It can't take longer. You're outside of the busy times, so it can't take longer. Your journey will have fewer delays. It's outside the busy times, so there's less traffic. So it's going to have less delays. So it's going to be C. You're driving, last one. So you're driving on a motorway. What does it mean if a car in front shows its hazard warning lights for a short time? Could you explain the difference between pelican and puffin crossings? I get confused on what type of lights, whether flashing or steady. Puffins are sensors, so someone's got to push the button for it to change. When it goes to red, it will not change back to green while the person's crossing, as long as the cameras are lined up properly. And puffin works on the traffic light sequence, which is green, steady amber, red and amber, green. That's what a puffin is. A pelican has a flashing sequence, and the color of lights are green, steady amber, red, flashing amber, then green. That's the difference. A pelican flashes amber. Puffin works on the traffic light sequence. So hopefully that helps you out with that. Calm Corn. I passed my test on the 30th for the 4th. What's 4th? January, February, March, April. So April. It's my first and last. I love that. Well, first, congratulations on passing. Thank you for coming and let me know how you got on. If you're still here, have you started your lessons? Because that was the end of last month. So have you started your lessons yet? Right, straight away, all of you are going for C at this point. So I have to assume C is correct. That's the last one up. No, it's not. Yes, last comment up there. Yeah, the reason why they do that is because, especially in broad daylight with the summer with sun we've been having at the moment, brake lights don't show up in broad daylight clearly. So flashing amber does. When you put your hazard lights on, they flash amber, and that's the reason why people do it, so they can be seen clearly from a distance, just in case you didn't know. So as I mentioned at the beginning, for those of you that was here at the beginning of the live, the theory test is made up of categories, 14 categories in total. So you get questions from all 14 categories on your 50 question test. This is a 20 question. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it gave me 9 categories. And the way it's made up of: safety in your vehicle 3, alertness 2, rules of the road 1, motorway rules 4, hazard awareness 2, vulnerable road users 2, road and traffic signs 2, vehicle handling 3, attitude 1. And that's the reason why I suggest you do categories individually to start off with, so your knowledge is strong across the board. So when they draw those questions on the 50 question mock test, you don't have a problem with that. And then you move on to mock test after you've done the categories. It takes a little bit longer than it this way, but it gives you the best possible chance of passing first time. You got to decide what's best for you, because everybody's different with that. But like I said, it's made up of 14 different categories. You will get questions from all 14 categories. It's just a case of how it's made up from that. So hopefully that makes things a little bit clearer for you guys. Right, if you've got any questions before we sign off, please put it in the chat, but Q semicolon, about your driving test as well. If you have got any issues with driving, full stop, I'll help you with that, like I did with Dinah and Diddy, that comes to mind. So let me do a hazard perception video. So the hazard perception is made up of 14 videos, which I mentioned earlier on. 13 of them are single hazard, one of them's got a double, and ideally you want to score 5 and 4s on your hazard perception videos. 4-in-1, the driving test success app, which is what I'm about to show you in a minute, is what I recommend. So yeah, you're looking for the hazard. I will suggest there's 2 types of hazard on the video. There's what we call developing. The developing one is the one you're going to be scored on. So that's the one that causes you to slow down or change direction. There are potential, it could have been a problem, but it wasn't a problem. But you're looking for the one that's going to be the problem, as in cause you to slow down, because these wires all over the place. 1 second. And funny enough, it's not about you seeing the hazard, it's about you getting a score. That's the biggest reason why pupils fail. They think, oh, I've seen the hazard, but I only got a 1 for it, or I got a 0 for it. It's not really about you seeing the hazard, it's about you getting a score. The video has a countdown window, so 5, and you go down to 0. You have to get something in between. So if you get something here, it's a 0. So it's not about whether you see the hazard nice and early, it's whether you're going to get a score. And I suggest you do a 2-click method. So you see the problem and you click and you go 1, 2, and you click again. That way, if you click too early, the second one lands in the 5 or the 4. If you clicked, the first click lands in the 5, for example, and the second one lands in the 3, they'll give it a high score. They're not going to downgrade you. So there's no benefit in clicking once. There's lots of benefits in clicking twice, but no benefits in clicking once. Dulaka, sorry, I think I'm saying that right. Welcome, bit late, but welcome. You're here anyway. We go live at 10 a.m. till normally about 12. If we go over, we go over, not a problem. Right, so let me quickly show you. Before I do that, let me show you this iPad. Let me get rid of it. So this is a driving test report sheet. So take a driving test. You're going to get a copy of this into your inbox. They will mail it to you at the end of the driving test. They will talk about it if you want to talk about it on the driving test, but they will email you the copy of the final version. So go back to what I said about understanding the questions for your driving test. So box 17 is your theory test. So you had traffic signs. You had road markings, traffic lights, because someone's asked me about pelicans and puffins just a while ago. That's what it would be. Traffic controllers, you had that sign with the flat palm, flat backhand, for those of you that was here, and other road users. They talked about elderly people crossing the road on one of the questions that we had as well. That's your theory test right there. The theory test does cover other boxes as well, but that's the main categories: response to signs and signals. That's why you need to understand it, because you're going to fall back on the knowledge to use for your driving test. If your knowledge is weak obviously you're going to do it wrong, then the examiner's going to mark it in a relevant box. So where it's marked at the moment, as you can see, that's what we call minors. You'll still pass your test with 15 or less. But if it goes in the S box, which is here, for example, or worse, in the D box, which is there, that's going to be an instant fail. So an S, which stands for serious, D stands for dangerous. Both of those you cannot have on your driving test, but you can have up to 15 minors or more or less on your driving test, but you cannot have 15 in one box, for example. So now you know that. You go to box 14, and that's your hazard perception right there. So if you didn't know or didn't realize, when you are clicking on the hazard perception and getting the green flags, your 5s and the 4s, that's the equivalent of you checking the mirrors if you was driving live in the video. Click, mirror, click, mirror. That's what it is. So you're checking the mirrors before you signal, change our direction and change the speed. On the video, you're not dealing with signals because you can't see the car signaling, but you are dealing with anything that's going to cause you to slow down in a straight line or change direction. In other words, shift left or right. So the click is you checking the mirrors. That's why the hazard perception was introduced, to show you how important mirrors were. So hopefully that makes sense. Sean, hopefully it's good news on Tuesday. Please come back next week and let us know how you got on. But good luck with it on Tuesday. If you've got any last minute questions, type it in before I sign off. Right, so hazard perception. Let's clear that sheet first. So I've got it ready for Monday. Come out of that. Driving test success. Right, so there's two types of clips on the apps. As you can see, CGI and real live clips. On your test, it's all CGIs. On your app, as you can see, you've got two. CGI ones are a lot clearer than the real life ones. Sometimes on the real life ones, they're hard to see. So I'm going to do one of each. I was going to see if anyone's got stars that I've not done before. Right, so real life 25 hasn't got a star. So let's take a look. I'm seeing it at the same time that you guys are. So you want to be scanning from left to right, right to left when you're watching the video, because road signs are on the pavement. Try to look as far ahead on the video as you can and work backwards towards where you are. There's nothing going on for me to click on at this precise moment. Still nothing going on. Still nothing going on. Right, that truck is moving out to the right. Ask yourself why. I'm going to click again to make sure I get a score. So the lorries caused me to slow down, but the truck in front was moving to the right. So if he's moving to the right, ask yourself why he's moving to the right. That's why you should check your mirrors. And again, there's nothing else for me to click on at this precise moment. But the lights are red, so obviously I'm going to slow down for the red light. 5 out of 5, bang on form. Just to show you that I'm not cheating. 5 out of 5, and then show you the review. Always review it back so you can see what's going on. I'm going to just speed it up for the sake of the live session. So as I said, he started to move out to the right. Ah, brilliant. Look, couldn't plan it even better. Go for 2 clicks is what I said. Watch. There's my first click. I called it in the video. You heard me say it. The truck in front of me is moving that to the right. Ask yourself why. So I've clicked. Now, if that's my real test and I leave it as 1 click, that's a 0. This is why you go for 2 clicks. It's not about me seeing the hazard. It's about me getting a score. With that 1 click, I've seen the problem, but I got 0. That's the reason why you go for 2 clicks. My second click is here, just in the 5. And I went for another one just to make sure I got a score. I think I went for another 2. So that's a 3. It landed in a 3. And the second one landed just in the 2 before it went to a 1. That gave me the highest mark. I repeat, it's not necessarily you seeing the hazard. You must get a score. Treat it like a high game, treat it like a high score in the game, whatever it is that you need to train your brain. Get a score, get a score, get a score, get a score. That's what you want to do. get a score. And that's a prime example. I couldn't have done it better if I wanted to for a live session. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me just catch up with these comments quickly. Let me come out of that. So I'll go back into this. Dylan's got his test on Wednesday. Good luck with it on Wednesday. If you've got any last minute questions, type in the chat before I sign out. Any one video you could recommend me for multiple questions and answer section? I keep getting. I don't know what you mean by videos. If you mean apps, like I said, Driving to Success, if you're talking about videos, recommend me for multiple choice questions and answer section. I keep getting 38 out of 39. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. Why you're getting 38 out of 39. If you can give me a bit more details on that, that can help you out. You said videos rather than app. Yeah, 2 clicks. Like I said, you can go for a 3-click method. If you're clicking on things that exist, going for 3 clicks ain't going to take you over the amount of clicks you're allowed per video. But the most important thing is you get in the habit of clicking twice. And do not go click, click. You literally click and go 1, 2. And again, this came up in the boot camp, and it came up last week on the live as well. 2 seconds. I don't mention anything about seconds on my video. I never relate to seconds. I just say to you, count, click, 1, 2. If that adds up to 2 seconds, so be it. But I don't mention seconds. So, and I don't mention the amount of clicks either. If you're talking about how many clicks are there per video, your mental side of things is wrong. You shouldn't be worrying about how many clicks is per video. Because if you click on things that exist, it's never going to be too many anyway. My test is on Tuesday. Again, you guys, bit late to the live, but if you've got any questions before I sign out, ask away. So I can send you in your tests confidently. Otherwise, I wish you luck with that. Please come back next week. Let us know how you got on. Right, so let me do a real life clip for you guys. So that's, I keep saying real life, CGI clips for you guys. So you can see it's a bit clearer. Let me get rid of this. Let's just do this one. So again, when you are watching the videos, you want to train yourself to scan from pavement to pavement. Road signs are on the pavement. And look as far down as you can see. So I'm looking where that white van is and working my way back to the car itself. This is really slow. Again, still scanning from pavement. Don't get distracted. Still scanning from pavement to pavement. So looking to the left, looking to the right, behind the van. Got 2 women there. Click. I'm going to go for another one just to make sure I get a score. So that's the one that's caused me to slow it down. That's the one I should get marked for, but keep going just in case you should double. I can't see around the bend, so I'm going to click just in case. Always a what if when you're driving. What if something is around the corner? Again, 5 out of 5. So, review. Again, just speed it up to see where I could have. I can't improve on this, obviously it's 5 out of 5. But if you're getting 3s and 2s, you can work out where to improve by watching the video. So there you go. There's my first click. There's my second click. Remember, for me personally, when I'm doing this, I want to get a score. So I don't know when I'm doing the video whether that's a score. So I went for another 2 clicks just to make sure when they come into view. So there's my next 2 clicks for them, but they gave me the highest score. I repeat, it's about getting a score, not just seeing the problem. Make sure you get a score, ideally 5s and 4s. Precious 6th of June. So you got a bit of time. There's a few more lives in hand. Again, you've got questions. While you're studying, this is for all of you, while you're studying during the week, Write down any questions, any concerns, and bring it to the live. Let me clear it up. Thank you. Appreciate that. So hopefully that makes sense to all of you guys struggling with the hazard perception. I repeat, watch the video. When you're doing it, you want to be scanning from left to right, because road signs are on the pavement. It's going to give you information. Sometimes you can see reflections in house windows, the shop windows of the video, stuff like that, so you know something is coming. That's what you want to do when you're driving on your driving lessons, by the way. That's how I teach my pupils to look well ahead. You're looking 3 to 4 cars ahead where possible, not just the car in front, because they're trying to train you to look down the road 5 to 6 seconds early in advance. Because as soon as you see the problem, you check your mirror, which means if you can see it coming on your real driving lessons, the calmer you should be. If you see things late, you panic. And the first thing you do when you panic is go for the brake, which means you're going to get marked down on the mirror section, because it should be mirrors first, then the brake, because you need to know if it's safe to slow down. If the eyes don't know there's something there, the brain could just slam on the brake. The brain is designed to protect you. If it knows something is close behind, it won't allow you to slam on the brakes, because it's designed to protect you. And a lot of people don't realize that. So if you don't see the problem, the brain cannot deal with it. So that's how it works. So hopefully it makes sense. And again, don't be afraid to review it back so you know where you could have improved. Yeah, take the mock test and let me take a look at that. I'll take a look probably. If you do it before Tuesday, the first chance I'll probably get is Tuesday, because I've got a massive boot camp on Monday. Got like 14 students in there on Monday, so it's going to be massive. Can you repeat the hazard perception? No, you can't, because then if you repeat it, then you're going to repeat it until you get it right. You're in real life, you only get one go. So if you crash, you can't turn around and say, let me repeat that back so I don't crash again. It's training you in a real life situation, checking mirrors, so you don't get a chance to repeat. It's one go only per video. And then obviously your score should add up to 44. If it doesn't add up to 44, then you failed the test. You get a chance to repeat it the next time you take it on the second attempt. So it's one go only. And there's nothing wrong. Also, what you guys got to remember is when you're at home, you're practicing. So there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. So if you get zeros at home, you're improving. If you're getting 5s and 4s and you're knocking it out of the park, 64s out of 75, then you're on point. Some of you guys, when you're at home studying, this is for the questions as well, you're beating yourself up if you're failing mock tests. There's nothing wrong with failing mock tests. There's something wrong not learning why you're failing the mock test. That's the difference. If you're failing a mock test, nothing wrong. Learn from the mistakes. Don't memorize the answer. Oh, next time I get that right because I remember what it is. You got to understand why you got it wrong. And there's other reasons than not knowing the answer. I repeat, rushing, skim reading, not understanding the questions. You have to work out why you got a question wrong. That's how you improve. It's easy to say, got it wrong. I remember that for next time. Because when you go for the real test, remember the question's going to be worded differently. So if the brain memorizes X and Y, but it's worded A and B, the brain's not going to recognize what the answer is because it just learned to do X and Y. So that's why I keep saying in the videos, understand the question, understand the answer. So failing mock tests at home is nothing wrong with it unless you're not learning from it. I'm struggling in lights, traffic lights. Again, that's a simple way of what I just said. Ask yourself why. There's only 3 colors on lights. So it's green. The simple way of doing it, while teaching the boot camp, you go from bottom to top. With images and signs, always go from the bottom to top. It makes life a lot much easier to understand when sign comes up. So green is at the bottom, steady amber's in the middle, red's at the top. The lights go up in single colors. So when the question's being asked what color comes after after green, for example, you know it's going to be amber. If it comes, what's the next color after amber? It's going to be red. They go up in single colors. I repeat, green, steady amber, red. So you always go from bottom to top with lights. When they come down, it's double. It's red and amber together. and then it goes to green. That's the easiest way to remember that. But I have got a traffic light video on my channel, so if you struggle with that, you can always watch that one. Got your test on the 27th, which is next Tuesday. So I've got another live next Sunday for you. So again, type any questions. Write down any questions you have during the week, bring it to the live next week, and let's clear all of that up to send you in that test on the 27th with confidence. First of all, you got 39 on the first one. That's 11 questions wrong. So that's going to be about 8 categories that you got questions wrong in. So that's a weak knowledge. 51 on hazard perception. It's a pass. 44. So you got 7 in hand. Okay. 42 on the next one. So that means you've improved on the next one. But that's still 8 questions wrong. That suggests that's 5 categories at least you got questions wrong in. 57 hazard perception, which is improved. And you test on the 21st. My advice is Wednesday. Right. So what I would do, the 2 tests that you've taken, put the paperwork side by side, and then see if there's a common denominator in terms of categories, and then study those categories. Do a mock test between now and Wednesday. That's what you should be doing now at this point if you test on Wednesday, and make sure those categories do not come up as a weakness on your mock test. If it does, then it still suggests there's a lack of knowledge with that. But you're heading along the right lines because you are improving. And fingers crossed you get the magical one that you need to pass the test. But that's what I would do now. Paperwork side by side, see if there's a common denominator of the 2 tests, and then do a mock test and just make sure those categories aren't coming up on a regular basis with your mock test results. How many times we can click in a video? Is there any limit? Yes, there is a limit. As I just mentioned, you shouldn't be counting the clicks. If you're thinking about counting the clicks, your mentality is wrong. Just click on things that exist. Then it doesn't matter how many times you click. Provided you do a 2-click method, by the way. You can't click 4 or 5 times on one video. Or one problem, sorry. But if you click on things that exist, it doesn't matter how much times you click. You're wasting your time counting clicks. Because every video is different. No problem, take care. Pass first time yesterday and only revised for 2 days just watching your videos. That's a lot, mate. It worked for you. 2 days binging is not my idea of learning, but it's worked for you. Hopefully you carry on the learning, so when you take your driving lessons, you're not parked up at the side of the road talking about stuff that you should already know. But well done for passing, though. Struggling with road signs. Juliet, you're struggling with road signs. You know what your weaknesses are. Ask yourself why. Again, it always comes down to why. Why are you struggling? What are you struggling with? And then jump on the app and isolate it. You can do road sign categories as an individual. With the driving test success app, you can just do road signs. There's a section where you can just look at road signs. They've got all the road signs in one of the units. But then you can do the category of road signs by it. So that's why I love the app so much, because you isolate your weaknesses and can study just that alone. But the question you have to ask yourself is, why are you struggling with road signs? That's what I would be if you was my student. No problem. Like I said, go up with single colors, come down in double. No problem. You're welcome. Take care, Infinity. Similar to what I said to Emmanuel, you said you're looking to book your test again. Don't wait until the appointed time. Take a look at the dates in your area and then claim it now while you can, because as you get closer to when you want to book it, there may not be no dates for you, and then you may take it later than you really want to in that sense. AROL TV, thank you very much, and you have a blessed week. That's the last comment on there. You guys studying, like I said, as you go through the week, what is the minimum age of, I don't know what that means. If you can get the question in properly so I can understand it before we sign it, I'll answer it. For those of you that's got a test this week, good luck with it, first and foremost. As I said, when you go in there, take your time, read the questions very carefully, read the answers very carefully. Make sure it adds up to safety or a controlled outcome. Those of you who got tests coming up or haven't got tests coming up, as you're studying during the week, do not be afraid to write down any questions, concerns, similar to someone who's talking about traffic lights. Bring it to the live. Let me answer. That's what the live's about, for me to clear up any doubts that you guys may have where possible. Same thing with your driving test. But the most important thing is have a safe week. Look after yourself. And I shall catch you guys. I'll catch you guys next week, Sunday, 10 a.m., where we go live to do another one. So take care. Have a safe week.